Know that that's happening in the background. Thank you for joining me. We're here to look at Canvas Studio. Really great tool. Been covered multiple times in other learnings within our professional development. But some of our past occurrences have just kind of been jumbled into best practices in Canvas and kind of looking at Canvas overall, right? So here we're here to just kind of dive into this one tool. And actually, I looked back the last time I put something up on YouTube, and I think it's been almost 3 or 4 years since we've done just a Canvas Studio piece. And obviously, we have many new faculty since that point. We've had some turnover since that point, and the tool looks a little bit different since that point. As you can imagine, with anything technology, the layout changes, right? So as you're kind of looking at that, making your way through menus, things like that, some of that's a little bit different, and obviously, it's become a little bit more robust too. So. Time for some new upgraded instruction. So that's why we're here today to kind of look at that. I'm starting here on, which is just the studio guide page. This is in the Canvas community. As you can see, very link based and very kind of question based, right? It's like, okay, I have this question. I click this link to get it. A lot of good stuff in here, and we'll kind of refer back to some of this. But as I've gone through and I've suggested to others before, Control Find is really your friend on a screen like this. So if I'm looking for something like particularly in studio, I can do captions, right? So there I can find that caption settings or the topics that would be right on captions by typing that in my search bar. Or maybe we're going to look at one of the things today, tools in studio is adding a quiz on top of your studio video. So you can kind of check for understanding as students or colleagues are watching that video. So there I can just do my control find and find all my stuff on quizzes. Okay. So know that this is a really good resource, but because it doesn't necessarily follow best practices of minimizing scrolling on a web page, it's really very list based with a lot of questions. So use your control find there as well. Some of the other resources that we'll kind of dabble in and out of are just from some other universities, just some stuff that I made my way through. This one comes from Franklin and Marshall. They do a really good job of kind of setting the stage, getting started in studio. You can see that their stuff is a little bit older with some of their videos, but I thought that some of their guides and they did a better job of kind of the collapsible menus and things on there. Another one that I thought was really good is UT's. So what I really liked about this one, outside of the overview of what studio kind of does and the purpose of it, I thought it did a really good job of kind of providing the different formats that we can use in this space. Um, so when you think about it, it's okay, what am I going to put inside of Studio, which is kind of this media player? You can put videos, you can put audio, and these are kind of those different types of files. And why is that important? Because there's so many different devices out there, right? You might be using your phone, you might be using your laptop, you might be using, an actual recording camera, an old video camera, whatever that might be. So there's some different ways that we can kind of push that media over. So that was a good synopsis there of those things. Okay. Also want to bring your attention to not that, that's my exemplify page. Get to that. But also inside of Canvas here, as we kind of just jump right in, the different levels of studio. So you'll see it over here in your blue menu, which is kind of this top layer. You'll notice that when we click on this top layer, you go into a space that's described as my library, which is, just like I described, the very upper layer of that. You can use some organizational tools inside of there as far as making tags, making folders, things like that. But anything that you kind of create or give to Studio will be here inside of the library. Okay. It's then another step for an instructor or a colleague to take said video and give it to someone to watch. Okay, so multi-step process there, and we'll look at some of that here in a second. But I do want to spend some time here on the library page, just kind of going over what we have. You can see you get a kind of thumbnail version, just like anything in Canvas. You can come up and kind of adjust if you want to a list version, whatever you would like. You can also change your kind of descending order, A to Z, newest to oldest. All of those things are in there for organization. You can't break it, so just kind of dabble in there. Okay. Um, it's also important to know that you get kind of the OneDrive functionality, even though this isn't OneDrive, that's just the world we live in. Any kind of tool where you can share something. So think about teaching with a colleague or being a course coordinator or maybe your team teaching, and someone takes some modules, another person takes another couple modules, and then you share those videos. Or maybe you're teaching a class for the first time, and the prior instructor said, hey, I spent a lot of time on this, made some really good videos, see if these might be helpful for you. You can always go in there and kind of share those things that way. Knowing that if they are already in the course, we should be able to share that way too. So even if someone were to abruptly leave or something like that, we still have capability on the back end to still get some of that content before accounts go. All right. So let's take a look at kind of the meat and potatoes of this, kind of putting the media inside of this tool. So think about all the different uses of this, right? You're going to a conference, you need students to watch the recorded lecture that you would have done in person. You just got done taking exam 2, and you notice that there's a certain topic where a whole bunch of students might need some remediation or some more instruction. So that's a place where you can kind of, make a short video and provide that content. Maybe it's after a lab, or maybe it's after a clinical section, and it's just kind of some questions back and forth on a debriefing type topic or something like that. So a bunch of different uses where we can kind of use this media, and to each his own, right? It's your own toolbox. All right. So let's talk about what we can do to kind of get something in here. And you'll see I click on my blue button right at the top, which is create. And we have a couple things inside of this menu. We'll start with the one down at the bottom. We'll go backwards, which is add media. This is when you already have something, right? So maybe you already recorded in Zoom. Maybe it was a meeting that you've already recorded. Maybe it was, you just bringing yourself up in Zoom and recording yourself. We've had individuals say that they're like, well, I didn't know I could do screen capture in here. I've just been using Zoom and then just giving them that video that way. That's perfectly fine. We know that the handcuff to Zoom is that you only have it for 30 days, right? So, or you're dropping it inside of some kind of sharing platform. In this case, look the other way. People would normally maybe put it in files, right? You have a voice over PowerPoint, you put it in files. You have an MP3, you put it in files. Your files are not an exceptional amount of space. They're very much smaller than your room and studio. So probably about mid-semester, quarter way through the semester, you get an alert saying, "Hey, your files are too big," and you're like, "Oh man, what do I delete now?" And what do you do with all that content? So this is a place where you can put a lot of those bigger things, your voiceover PowerPoints, those lectures, things like that. And of course, if you record it in Zoom, you just come here to browse files. It brings up a directory the same way it would. If you record it to the cloud, you just have to download it, and then it probably drops in your downloads folder, and you can just grab that MP4 and drop it here. Knowing that if you also record to the cloud in Zoom, you get a transcript, right? You get that .vtt file. So we'll look at that here in a second as far as it comes to accessibility, but you can put that VTT file right over your video and have your transcripts right away. You can request transcripts through Canvas Studio as well, except they do advertise that their transcription is at an 85%. Zoom advertises a 95%. So there's going to be some level of error in there, especially how long you're talking, or as we talk about in our disciplines, the different words we use, the different medications, things like that. It might not necessarily pick up on those things. That's a time where maybe you could spend a little bit of time, especially if the video is short. If you're saying a same medication over and over again, or you're talking about the same concept over and over again, you go and watch the video, you realize that those captions aren't necessarily the way the word is spelled, or something's messed up there, you can go in and you can edit that. Okay. And we'll take a look at that. Why would you do that? Right. Think about that as a learner. If they're sitting there, they might be reading it, they might be looking at it. We want them to recognize that word with all cues, and they're not going to necessarily recognize that written word on a test if it's spelled wrong in transcriptions, right? So we want to kind of make sure that's on cue there when we talk about the captions. Okay. And we'll jump into some of that accessibility stuff here in a little bit, like I said. You can also just grab something from YouTube. We know that a lot of us use YouTube. There's a lot of stuff that's already out there. All of that's perfect. You just paste the link right there. Some of the capabilities of Studio are handcuffed when you bring in a YouTube video because you don't own it. YouTube still owns it. What you're doing is you're just kind of embedding the YouTube video inside of Studio. So in a second, we're going to look at some of the editing tools, some of the tools that come along with a video. And I'll show you the difference. When you're looking at a YouTube video, that menu's a little bit different. You can't chop the video, you can't cut the front off, the back off, or anything like that. Now, what you can do on the YouTube side is you can create a unique link if you want a video, say that's 20 minutes long and you want it to start at 10 minutes and 23 seconds. You can provide the students a link that goes right to that spot. Okay. And that's certainly something we can look at how to do to be a little bit more specific if there is something that's a little bit longer. Go ahead, Karen.
So is it a preferred method of, like, in the module pages, a lot of times we put in links from YouTube. So is there a preference about whether or not we should really put it in Canvas or in Studio versus just put in the link?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that there's room for both. What I would push you towards are kind of the levels of engagement and accountability that come with the studio side. So, as opposed to just clicking the link on the page, when I drop the YouTube video in studio, I can see who watched it and for how long they watched it. If I want to put a comment and I want, maybe I have this aha thing that I would normally say to my students at 4 minutes if we were in person to person. You can put a tag right on top of that video so that a blurb comes up at 4 minutes when they're watching the video. So when you click a link, you're just on YouTube, you just have that stuff. So we get a couple different levels of engagement if we take that said YouTube video and just put it inside of here. Perfect. Good questions. And we're going to look at all that. A lot of good stuff there. All right. So again, I can kind of just take something that I've already made and I can put it on here. I can also come up top and I can do screen capture or I could do webcam capture. Knowing that these both come up using Screencast-O-Matic. So if you're familiar with that tool, you basically just have Screencast-O-Matic plug in here with Canvas. Canvas went to Screencast-O-Matic, said, hey, can we use your technology for studio? Yeah, perfect. So what you get here is all that same stuff. So if I click on screen capture, and you can click on webcam capture too. Um, if you click on one, you can always turn on the other. So if I click on webcam, I can always record my screen. If I click on screen capture, I can always enable my webcam. So vice versa, that's all there. So if for our Screencast-O-Matic fans, you're familiar with our black and white background or outline, and that's kind of what's being recorded. So in this case, I'm not recording my entire screen. I'm only recording what's inside of this square. So you can always take that and adjust from your corners there. You'll see that I am on both, but because I'm on Zoom right now, it's not going to enable my webcam. So if I was just sitting here at my desk by myself, this webcam would have a picture of myself. Um, I would encourage you for anything that is instructional based to keep that webcam on. Similarly to if your students are in class, you would want them to have their hood down and looking at you, and so you can see their face and read some of those nonverbal cues and some of those things that go along with instruction. So I would encourage you to have the webcam on if you're doing those things. And then just some basic controls there as far as doing your size, checking your audio. If you are going to play a video inside of your video, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend you to do. Like here, you're giving a lecture, and you're like, okay, let's watch this short clip on whatever the topic is. Make sure you turn on that computer audio, right? That's the only way that your participants are going to hear the video inside of your video. Otherwise, it's just going to play and they're just going to hear you breathing while the video is playing. Okay, so make sure you turn on the computer audio there so they can get the instruction as well. Okay, couple other preferences there. You can kind of go through there. They have the ability to do some hotkeys. So if you're doing a little bit longer and you want to kind of set up some keyboard shortcuts, things like that, know that some of that stuff is inside of there as well. And you can always kind of mess around in that space. I'll click cancel there. I love this when you do record inside of here. It does give you the countdowns. You got to get yourself ready. I'm recording. Notice my outline now turns from a black to a red to show me that I'm recording. My clock's down at the bottom. Here's that computer audio in case you forgot at the beginning. You can always turn it back on. If you're like, oh man, I forgot to turn that on, I'm gonna quick play that video. You can always do that again there. Okay. I'll just hit pause and I'll click done. And this kind of just works in the background here for a second. It kind of sees what I'm doing. You can come in, you can put your title, you can put your description. At this point, you can edit, and I'll show you where you can also do that within a menu, but the editing isn't necessarily as robust. It's basically just, hey, I need to chop off the back or I need to chop off the front. In another editing menu, excuse me, that we're going to see here in a second, it does let you clip. So if you made something that's, 35 minutes long, and we know that our students are probably checked out at about 10, you don't necessarily want to go more than 15, especially with the video content. And you're like, hey, this is a really good place where I could pause, I could stop. It's a natural pause. I switched topics, but I kind of kept the video going. No problem. We can clip it and it will make it into two videos for you. So you don't have to necessarily go back to, oh man, that was way too long. I should have stopped then. We can go in, we can edit that. If there's something that you want to do a little bit more robust editing with, I also have that capability on my side in a tool that we've used. We were actually using it during the pandemic when we were making all the videos for graduation and things like that. We needed more editing capability. So I still have a license to that on my side. So if you are making a lot of video content, you're like, man, I really wish I could do some more editing with this or get this, in the space that I want, we can have a separate conversation, and I can help you with that. Okay. I'm just going to click upload here. And this takes a couple seconds, knowing that if you made something longer, this is going to take longer. Okay. So if you're like, oh man, I need to do this really fast, don't make a really long video. So this should be done here real quick. We can hit continue. And then that is what we just made right there. Test tests. You can see the screen. You have the three dots, and we'll venture into these three dots here in a second. But I just wanted to point out the difference of your icons. This is something that we made in Studio. This is something that came in from YouTube. So you see your little red YouTube icon there on the video. And let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys. There's your Studio, just regular video. And then there's your icon. And then let's take a quick look at the menu here. So you'll see create quiz, annotate video, edit media, share, move to, edit tags, replace thumbnail, delete. Some good things there. Here in my YouTube, I only have create quiz, annotate video. I cannot edit, so that's gone. And I cannot, what was that other one down here at the bottom? Oh, I can't replace a thumbnail. It just pulls the image from YouTube. So whatever the author has already used the thumbnail for, that's what the thumbnail is going to be here. Okay. But let's spend, because this overlaps, the stuff in Studio is a little bit more robust. Let's spend our time within our menu here, and we'll kind of make our way down here real quick. First one is create quiz. That is pretty self-explanatory, but let's look at it real quick. We'll call this quiz one. Know that the quiz function only, and listen carefully, only is within the menu at the top level. Okay. So you have to go into the library, my library, the blue bar where we went into Studio over here and we clicked. That's the only place when you click the three dots that you'll find the quiz. If you go into a specific class and you want to find that quiz function, it's not going to be there because the tool allows you to overlay multiple quizzes on the same video. So think about kind of spiraling your instruction. Maybe I'm asking different questions in Patho 1, Patho 2, Patho 3. So there's different questions. Or maybe it's the same video throughout the semester and we're just talking about different topics. So I have different questions. So I can take quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3 all on the same video and put those in different places in my class. So I just need to be at the top level to do that. Okay. So let's say here we are, I have my 18-second video. Just like we were talking about, let's say that we want to drop something here at 3 seconds. Okay, you can see my bars at 3 seconds. I can just hit my plus sign. It says, what would you like to add? Let's add a true or false. And we can say, this video is awesome. And of course, the answer is true. You can always provide some feedback within that space. So again, a good place to maybe take some practice questions that you have, or you're like, man, I really wish I could have got to those 5 questions in class today. No problem. Find a good video, drop them within here. You can kind of have the instruction of the media as well as some practice questions layered over top. So all of that stuff, provide the feedback, some debriefing at the end. All that's great. So you can kind of do that on your end. We'll click save here. I can always go to a different spot in the video, click my plus again, add another type of question. Let's say in this case, multiple choice. And the one thing that you don't necessarily have in here is the rich content editor. So I can't come in, I can't make things bold, I can't underline it, I can't link it or anything like that. This is just plain text. So if you're looking for something a little bit more robust, we would have to explore another tool. When it comes to the quizzes in Studio, this is what we get. I did see a community forum about that, because if you kind of look at this box, it's very similar to a box that you would get when you click edit on any page. It's just you don't have the menu up here. So maybe there's some upvotes for that, and it gets some legs and gets moving a little bit, and we can get some rich content editor in this space. But that's the way it is right now. Um, Favorite color is, and we can always say blue, yellow. And the great thing about this is that, you can set this up just like any assignment in your course. It can be worth points, it can be worth a percentage. You can come up here to done, and we'll have these two questions over top of this video that we just made. It can count towards the grade, it cannot count towards the grade, all of those things. So you still have the same functionality of everything. Notice that now that I've made a quiz, my thumbnail now has a rocket ship up at the top. So there's a quiz on this one. There's a quiz on this one. There is not a quiz on this one. There is not a quiz on that one. So it kind of gives you some of these thumbnails within here. Okay. Let me click back here and make my way again further down the menu. My quizzes is now a collapsible menu because I made quiz one, and just we said maybe you have another set of questions. Maybe it's later in the semester, so you're asking a higher order questions or something like that. You can always come in and add another quiz to that same exact video, different timestamps, different questions, and then when you put it in the course, you're just saying, okay, I want this video just plain, or you can want that video with quiz one, or you can want that video with quiz two, whatever you want. So you get all those options when you do the embedding. Okay. Underneath quizzes, we have annotate video. And this is a place where, similar to quizzes, you can just drop content within the video. So again, here at 2 seconds, I'm just adding a comment, I'm adding a headline. Maybe I'm referring to an article or another website. I can add that link right there in the video. Maybe you're saying, hey, if you want to read more about this, check out this article on AI in this place, and you can add that link to that article so it pops up when the student is watching the video at that time. So again, just adds another layer of interactivity there, and that's just annotating your video, just kind of putting things on top of there. We'll come out of there. And underneath annotate, we have your edit media. And this is where I was talking about, we can kind of take our front end, take it off, take our back end, take it off. You can cut it, you can trim it, whatever that might be. And you kind of get this timeline feature. If you're familiar with iMovie, it's similar to that. You kind of have this whole view, and then you can kind of go in a little bit closer or go out a little bit further, and it changes all your timings in that space. Again, something you might have to spend a little bit of time on, because it might be a little bit new to you. Editing videos is not everyone's niche, right? Otherwise, everyone would do it. So just kind of keep that in mind. And I'm obviously here to help you with that if you need to. I do love that it does have an undo and redo right here. So even if you do clip something, you're like, oh man, I didn't mean to delete that piece or whatever that is. Just like in Word, you can go backwards and forward there. So that's nice within that space. Let's keep on going through our menu here. We were in annotate, then we went to edit. Obviously, share is just like we talked about. You're teaching with someone. Maybe you made a video for remediation, and there's only 5 students that need the video. Everyone else did good. You don't necessarily need to drop it in the class. You can come to share, and you can just start typing in your students' names, and they can see the video, and it will be in their library shared section then. So it's not always in a course. It doesn't necessarily always have to be for everyone. It's, hey, I provided this feedback to, your lab, or what I saw you do in class today, or, whatever that might be. So you can always kind of make it your own there, and that's in that share space. Move to would be if you have it in a folder, you want to move it to a different folder. Tags just let you kind of, again, I could think about this, your classes, maybe you tag each video for your 485. That's 485. All your stuff's 305. All your other stuff's 465. Whatever that is, you can always put those tags there. And then you can always replace the thumbnail. What this doesn't do, if you're used to the replace thumbnail on YouTube, it kind of gives you 3 options of what it could be. And you're like, oh, I like that middle one. And you choose that one, you save it. Okay, now it's that thumbnail. This does not give you any options. It just makes the original thumbnail for you. And then if you want to replace it, it just gives you the option to upload a different image. So think about maybe it's a video on a certain topic. Maybe you upload the book cover, or you upload the chapter cover, or you upload an image that you find online that is about that topic. So you can always kind of grab different things there, depending on what you want to do. Okay. Wow. So again, that's just the video itself, and that's just your menu here in your three dots after you've created the video. Now, when you actually go into the video, you kind of get a whole nother layer of things that you can do with this content. Um, so we'll start over here to your left, which is your details. This is just another place where you can edit the title and the description. We saw that on the front page too. You can click on edit, you can click on annotate. You can do that in that space too. You can also add the tags here like we just saw on that menu. So they're just kind of overlapping, giving you the same thing to do in different places. So that's there in details. Here you have comments. This is different from annotate. So the annotate will drop an icon right here on your timeline as it's going through, but a comment is just going to kind of be down here below the video. And notice it does timestamp, so it would say, "Oh, this comment was made at 19 seconds," but it doesn't give you the icon that would be here if you were to annotate the video. So just different ways of interacting, but you could use the comments to, probe your learners of, what's the next step here? What could the nurse have done better? What's the first thing you do when you get in the room? That's a place where you can kind of put that question out there. Students can reply underneath. You can be notified if those replies are occurring, all of those things. So just another level of interactivity that you can have there. We talked about insights a little bit on the front end, and this is again one of the features that you get if you are taking not just putting a link on a page, you're taking the video and putting it inside of Studio, and this provides you the information of who watched it and how long they watched it. Okay, so because this video was just made and we're just sitting here right now, there's no data to display. But I'll show you here in a second a video that is going right now, and you can kind of see what that looks like from a learner side. Okay. Here's another tab for your captions. If you remember, we talked about the VTT file and what comes along with your Zoom video. So you can just click here on captions. You can do new captions and you upload a file. We can also create, so you can kind of you can pick a different language. Knowing that I would not be able to edit captions if I requested captions in Chinese. So who knows if they're right. So most of the time you're kind of just doing your own video and probably getting English there. Just to meet your accessibility standards, I would encourage you to caption. Why? Because there's times where your students might have their earbuds in, but they might be listening to something else and just watching your video on the screen and reading your captions. So you really allow the user to use it the way they want to. And again, it comes along with some of those language barriers that might be for a second language learner, seeing the English language and the way that that comes across, and really just the nursing language. So when you're talking about the different concepts, the different medicines, things like that, really helpful for them to have a visual of those terms and those words in front of them, not just hearing them come out of your mouth. Right, because when they're sitting on a test, they're seeing it written on a paper. They're not seeing you talk it. So it really helps them kind of bridge those connections, help them build those connections to long-term and short-term memory so they can recall that stuff. So that's always helpful there. And it takes nothing. You're just requesting captions and it's done. On that first video, I did that, and here my automatic captions are ready for my test. I get a notice that the captions are ready to go, and I can put those right on top. So those are right there for you. So that's a great thing. All right, perfect. You have another three dots here. These tools that are within this space are the same for everyone. So if I'm a student, I'm getting my ability to toggle on, I'm getting my settings for the video, I'm getting my ability to do a full screen. And then when you embed the media, which is what we're going to look at here next, you get the ability to say, can my students download this content? So as the user and as the owner, I get this automatically, but you do get the ability to turn that off if you don't want your users to download. 99.9% of the time, we have an internet connection. So we don't necessarily need to download. But we just had a set of students fly to Washington. Maybe they didn't have Wi Fi on the plane, right? So maybe you give them the ability to download the media or the lecture that you want them to watch because that's where they're going to be for that conference. So kind of think about the scenario. A lot of times a download wouldn't be necessary, and a lot of times we don't necessarily want people to share that. But if you're going somewhere where you might not necessarily have a connection, that might be helpful for them. And then it's, well, I didn't have time to do it. There was no time on the plane and I had Wi-Fi. Well, there goes that excuse, right? So we can kind of accommodate there a little bit. Okay. All right, and that is boom, boom, boom. Right here, when we click on the blue title, again, we get to those 4 options. And you'll see when we take something and we take a piece of media and we put it in a course, you get those 4 options on every single piece of media. Okay, so we'll see that double dip here. Again, I'm in my library, right? I'm at this very top layer here in Studio. Okay, let me jump out of my library and into a course so that we can see it there. Boom, boom, boom. Let me see if I come to my 302 from a couple of semesters ago here. We can fall 24. Perfect. Did I do I might be guilty. Let's see, Studio. Oh, I did not. It's just my sample. You know what? Because there was only 3 people in that class. That's probably why. Let's try again. So what I want to get to is a place where you had content being viewed. And then in that space, when that content is being viewed, you can kind of get the analytics that come along with it. So let's see if we get a better result here in fall 23. That was Norma Jean's. Da, 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 da. Wow, I am guilty. All right, I'm wasting time. So let's just jump back to the course itself. Just jump into my advising course here, just so we can see what the studio level looks like. Again, here's your top level here in the blue menu. Inside of your course menu, you also get the studio side. Now, knowing that this is your studio, so if your students click on this, they're seeing their studio, right? So the content can't just be like, oh yeah, I made it in studio, it's there for you. No, you still have to give it to them. So same way you would distribute an assignment or make the code known for the test, you still have to give it to your learners, right? So when we say give it, that means it can be given anywhere. We can put it in an assignment, we can put it in a discussion board, we can put it on the home page, we can put it within the feedback, we can put it on a page in a module, so all of those places. So here in Studio, again, we can click in this space, see some of these default ones that I have in here. Let's see if my introduction of fall 23 has some insights. No, it doesn't. But in this space, let's say I wanted to make this video available to my learners within this course. The majority of the time, I see this being done in modules. And that's for a very particular reason. It's because your template comes with a media page. And let me remind you of that real quick. So if I go to my undergrad template, and this is in your grad template too, if you're watching from that end, if I go to my undergrad template real quick, and I come into my modules, just like all of our courses are delivered, and I come down here to my sample section, and here's your multimedia page template. Okay, so this gives you the ability to click the 3 dots, duplicate the page, and you get kind of this setup that we've already done here. You get the icons that are already made, you get the page breaks that are already made, and some how-tos if you need to actually put something in this space. So if I was ready, I could just come in here, I would click edit, right? I could come up, and we made this very particular, the same way we talk about good instruction. You're not just walking up in front of the class and hitting play, right? This is what we're watching. This is what I want you to look for. This is what I want you to think about. So you kind of set the stage for your learner here. So use this area to focus your participants' attention or questions to think about. And you can type those there, excuse me, for yourself. You can then come below that and say, okay, I'm ready for the video. So I'm going to delete this content here, and I'm going to click on my studio icon in Canvas Studio and I'll say, let's see which video do I want. I'm going to grab my test video. And this is where we get the ability to kind of do some different layers here. Do you want that quiz that we just made on top of it? No, I don't want the quiz, so we're going to say none. Do you want those tabs at the bottom? Remember, we had comments and details. Do you want users to be able to see that? You can toggle that on and toggle that off. What it really does is if it limits the scrolling on the page. If you have those media tabs, it adds a whole nother space underneath your video. So if you really just want the users to watch the video, there's not any comments or anything, you can just leave that off. And then the video is just the size of the video. You don't have all that other space underneath. That's kind of just white space. And especially if you're going to put something underneath like additional resources or something like that. And then there's your toggle to kind of download or undownload, or I shouldn't say undownload, not download within that space. You can do that there. So let me hit cancel because I don't want to mess up my template. That would be a big no-no. And we'll come off of this page. And like I said, you have the another icon here for additional resources. So maybe there's an article you want them to read. Maybe there's a particular vsim you're pointing them to. Maybe there's something within, a remediation template or something like that that you want them referred to. You can always drop that stuff at the bottom of the page. So your undergrad template comes with that multimedia page where again, if you have a video that you want to make available in module 3, you just come to that sample page and you click on your 3 dots and you say duplicate. That makes a copy of that. Here's your copy, and you just retitle it module 3 and you drag it to module 3. Okay, now I made a video for module 5. No problem. Come up, hit your 3 dots, duplicate it. That's made a copy of it. Drag it to module 5, put in the video, put in the content, and then all your pages look the same. The template is working, right? And that video content looks the same throughout, and it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind within that space. Knowing that again, I don't necessarily need to use that media page. I can just come into a regular page and just drop the content here. So let me show you how to do that real quick. I can just come to pages, or in this case, a lot of us would probably go to modules. A lot of us don't use that pages. So my bad there. We'll come to modules and then maybe a module 1, module 2, whatever that is. And then you've made that module, you can come to your plus and we default to assignments. We would just change that to page, create page, and let's say module 3 videos, add item. Here's your module 3 videos. It gives you a blank space. I'm just clicking edit up at the top. Again, I encourage you to set the stage a little bit so you can just put your cursor there, type whatever you need to type those probing questions. And then again, here's your studio icon. You can click on that studio icon. You see your library again. I'll choose my test. I'll do the display media tab so you can see what that looks like. And we'll do save and save. Now here's the difference because I displayed the media tabs, my window goes all the way below this. Okay. If I didn't do display media tabs, this window would stop right here below the timeline. You wouldn't get details, comments, insights, captions. Okay. So that would not exist. So if you were putting multiple things or multiple pieces of content on a page, it would be helpful to just have the video. You don't necessarily need all of this stuff underneath if you don't have them referring to comments throughout or what that might look like. Okay. Know that you can, and you probably saw this real quick here. If I do come to modules, outside of making it a page, you can come here, do external tool, and choose Canvas Studio, and the video itself will just be the link. So the video is not on a page, it's just the video. So what you do lose is you lose the ability to put anything else. You can't type before it, you can't type below it, you can't add any content. It's just the video itself. So keep in mind that there are other ways to kind of put that within that space. So here we are within modules, but again, maybe you're having students respond to something in discussions. You can always come into discussions in this space and do your add discussion. We get that same rich content editor menu up at the top. I can drop my studio video here, right? And maybe you're asking for students to provide feedback that way, audio, visual, whatever that might be within that space. So lots of great things. Let me check my page here real quick, make sure I didn't forget anything within this space. Was there anything there within that first, geez, we've killed like 45 minutes so far, that you guys are like, wow, let's look at that. That happened real quick, or something else I want to look at? Any aha moments for you too?
Nope, just confirming and clarifying the stuff about the quizzing. So that was helpful. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, fabulous. Um,
I
so
think
if
what I'm going to do, because I have to redo my Foundations of Faith Community Nursing course. And I do have a page where, I just have a lot of videos. I have questions before to answer or whatever, but I have video links. But instead of maybe some of the lame discussions I have, to put one of those videos in the discussion and
yeah,
have the questions there and have dialogue, I think that's excellent.
yeah, I love that. And obviously it's another opportunity, and we talk about this to allow your learners to display their knowledge outside of writing, right? We're very used to write 250 words, three sources, all of that stuff. But, there's room to learn when you're articulating your responses. You want to be able to speak clearly. You want to be able to speak knowledgeably. So all of that comes with practice as a student as well. Similar to our nursing students, and being able to describe what they're doing bedside or whatever that might be. So you can probe them that way, and pretend that this is a patient, and what would you say to them, and what would be the next thing, or how would you have handled that situation differently. So it allows for kind of that reflection and dialogue outside of, hey, type this up. And chances are you're probably going to get a little bit of a different response if you let people kind of just respond in a video or respond in recording than you would have them type it out. You get a little bit more of a personable response, right? Because it's not necessarily edited and all of that. You get a little bit more feeling behind the voice. You can hear their tone. So there's some pieces there I think that are of value to a learner and an instructor for sure. All right, guys. Good stuff today. I looked at my paper. I hit everything I wanted to hit. Unless there's something else you guys want to spend a little bit more time on, I'm happy to do that. But other than that, Studio, again, great tool to kind of jump into, make your own. If just like anything we work on, if it's something that you would want to look at individually or with your team, or discuss a way that you can use it a little bit better within your own teachings, don't hesitate to reach out. Happy to have all of those conversations with you.
Okay, thank you. That was
All right,
perfect.
guys. Perfect.
Yeah, I always learn something new.
I'm glad. I'm glad. All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.